I'm going down to the drugstore, buy a big old skein of yarn. I'm gonna knit me a kitten, even if you don't give a darn.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 173 of the We Are Yarn podcast. My name's Amanda. I'll be your hostess today. You can find this podcast on YouTube on my channel, We Are Yarn. You can find me at weareyarn.com as well. However, last month I may have neglected to post this there, and I was going to go back and do it, and I decided it's been a month now, and why bother? It has been a month since I have spoken with you last. I recorded last week, I'll be very honest, and I just never got around. Actually, 2 weeks ago I recorded, and I never got around to editing. So I just decided to scrap that one and doing it again. So I'm actually looking at my show notes from last week. It is, by the way, Sunday, September the 16th. It is a very dreary day today because of Hurricane Florence. It has come to East Tennessee now. You know, I don't know, is it a tropical? I don't watch the news. I've kept up with it through my friends who are in South Carolina. I just know that the rain is here. When you pull up the radar, the rain goes all the way to the coast. So that's a long way too, by the way, if you're not familiar with the geography. That's a long, long way. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to look at my notes from last week and go off those and then throw things in as I see fit. I'm really going to try to, and I say this just about every time, I'm going to try to start shortening my episodes, and that would be doable if I would stop waiting a month in between episodes. So, for brevity's sake, I'm going to remind you that there's a sweater knit along going on, crochet, weave, whatever, for the entire year. If you knit 4 sweaters this year, eligible for prizes and goodies and things, and go to the Ravelry group at the We Are Yarn Ravelry group and check out the deets on that. Quarter 3 is coming to a close at the end of September, so the 1st of October I'll be drawing the name for your sweater pattern, giftable sweater pattern of choice. So, speaking of sweaters, this would not be eligible because it doesn't have sleeves, but this is the May by Andrea Mowry that I did indeed finish. There it is. See, it's kind of longer in the back than the front. It has a V on the front and the back. I have already put my tag in so I know which side is the front and the back, and you'll notice it's kind of see-through-ish because it's knitted a very loose gauge. So let me tell you the funny thing. This is out of Malabrio Rios, which is superwash, which I learned after I finished the sweater, and it was a little short. I wasn't super pleased with how it was fitting, and I'm sorry if I keep looking this direction. There is some wicked wind outside today. Wicked wind. So anyway. So I finished my sweater, and I soaked it, like you do, in some Eucalan. Jasmine scented. It's lovely. And I pulled it out, and it went from being just a little short, but it'll do. I hope it grows a little bit, to almost to my knees. Like, guys, it was ridiculous long. And I was like, what has happened? Oh, it's super wash. So I let it dry for a week to make sure it was 100% dry and there was no water. And then I did 5-minute increments in the dryer to kind of suck it back in. And that worked. About 20 minutes. It took 4 cycles. And let me let my cat in because she does not like a closed door. But it did bring it back to a much more reasonable length and width. and I'm really pleased. I haven't worn it yet because it's not quite the season yet, but I am thinking about going along my seam. Kitty tail. I am thinking about going along my seams. That's awesome. Miss Toes, stop that. And with a very non-stretchy yarn, just to give it some support along. There she is. Give it some support along the shoulders and the neckband. Go on. And I may even go down, she has you put, Andrea Mowry, this is made by Andrea Mowry, she has you put a faux seam with a slip stitch along the edge, where the seam would be if it was sewn. Stop that. I am very sorry for the cat interruptions today, but I'm thinking about maybe going along and doing a little bit along that edge with some really non-stretchy yarn as well, just to give it some structure so we don't grow out of proportion. But I haven't done that yet, and you know, I may wear it the first time and it'd be great and not be a problem, and then I just won't do it, but we'll see. So that's the May by Andrea Mowry out of Malabrigo Rios in the Purpura colorway. Let's see what's next. So one whip you haven't seen in a while is the Dotted Rays by Stephen West. I haven't shown it because I'm always like, I just want to get to the end of the next color and then I'll show it to them. So several colors have passed since I've had that thinking. Okay, the cat's gone to the other window, so maybe she'll sit there for the next couple of minutes and we won't get interrupted. But here it is. Let's see. I have a hard time with which side's the front side and which side's the back side, and I don't think it really matters, honestly. But I'm knitting this out of some hand spun. It's a loop bat. One of those, you know, the bullseye bump. Bullseye bump is what she calls them. And so we've had black and dark green and light green and kind of a navy blue and then that turquoisey blue, and now we're kind of getting into more of a purpley blue, and then it'll be more of a solid purple and then kind of a violet and then a wild purple there at the end. And it's just scooting along. Honestly, the rows, even with the short rows, the rows are starting to get long enough that I get bored, and I don't want to go over to the short row and then not go back. So that makes, like, there and back, I call one row, and they're just so long. So long. So that's starting to get kind of a slog for me, so I've put it aside for now. I cast on something else to be kind of less thoughtful knitting. If you've been watching me for a while, you'll remember back when my son was born, I knit him this amazingly adorable stocking. There it is. With the aim of knitting one for all three of us, and now we're 3 years later and I haven't finished the stockings for the rest of the family, but I have been on a tear to do that. And you know, it's just stockinette in the round, right? And then change color every 10 rows. So that's what I've been working on in the mornings before work when I have a later shift at 8:30. I've been getting up still pretty early and then having some quiet time. So I have this stocking, foot, heel, no, leg, heel, and foot finished. And then I have this one, leg, heel, and foot finished. So I have 2 toes remaining, and I'll have 2 stockings. Okay, so I don't need these stockings till December, right? So I'm thinking about letting it rest. I'm not in the mood to knit toes right now, just not. And I want to do things that make me happy. I don't want to do things I feel guilty about, so I'm just not. And then I need to write my new one here. I started today, not 2 hours ago, a new cast on. And it is the Ingot. Oh, the Stockings, by the way. The Stockings are a free pattern that were out of some magazine that you could download the instructions, and I kind of hurriedly read the beginning of them and then completely didn't follow them. Not because I didn't want to follow them, because I didn't realize I wasn't following them. So, I'm going to call them, I made it up as I went. But they're knit out of Cascade 220 Superwash. Alright, so I cast on the Ingot by Lisa Mutch of Northbound Knitting. That's what it looks like with a printer that for some reason was acting up today. And I'm using, I feel like I'm umming a lot, I'm sorry. I'm using this lovely yarn, which is hand spun by yours truly. This is a Knitty and Color braid that was part of the Try-Dye collective back when she and Gals Art and Fiber Charmer were doing a subscription service together, and 1 month I went for the fiber, and so this is something special that'll never be repeated. It's this lovely green, its own, and honestly the name of it I don't think I can pronounce. Dokofar. He's an Old Norse Dark Elves. So that's kind of cool. This is merino bamboo silk, and it came with some Angelina, and I put the Angelina in one of the singles and then not the other one. So it's just a real subtle sheen there. And Lisa's calls for the Northbound Knitting Merino Silk DK. And so I thought, since hers had silk in it, had that really lovely drape, I wanted something out of my stash that would give me that drape. And I think this will do the job. And it's DK-ish for much of it, but some of this has been almost cobweb. But that's the nature of hand spun, and that's what makes it beautiful, right? So this is how far I've gotten. Is this the front? Am I showing you the front or the back? So it has this netting. And there it is. It's knit on a very loose gauge. These are US 11s, which is an 8mm, and I'm using my cubics for this because that's what was closest to my hand when it came time to pull my needles about 2 hours ago. So I think this is going to be really lovely. So that's that. That's what I've been working on. So you've seen my faux, you've seen some whips. You want to see some spinning? I finished plying up my, this was River's Edge in the Grand Canyon colorway. Grand Canyon something. I'm not 100% certain where the tag is. This has not been set yet, but it is a gradient. It goes from the browns into the greens to the blue. And am I happy with how it turned out? Yeah, I think so. I thought that I was over twisting it when I was plying it. I did a chain ply, and I thought I was over twisting it, but it hasn't been set yet. And I don't have even, I mean, it's ever so slightly twisting. And that's a way, if you're unfamiliar with spinning, that's a way to tell if you have under or over plied your yarn, is if it twists on itself. And by the direction of the twist, you can tell if you over or under plied it. Okay, so that's a way to tell if you've under or over plied, and by the direction of the twist, that'll tell you if you've over or under plied. And honestly, I don't look at that often enough to be able to, with confidence, tell you which direction is what, so I'm not even going to try. And finally, I have one bobbin of that beautiful white corriedale that I spun up that's going to eventually go into a Japan Sleeves by Joji Locatelli. This is kind of fun to spin because I usually spin at night and it's in a very dark room. And chain plying I can kind of just do by feel. Like, I don't have to really be, like, I just get in the rhythm, right? But with the 2-ply, I don't know why, but I can't find my rhythm, and I really have to pay attention to it. And in the dark, it's no fun. So I've started wearing my little reading light that my knit shop sells that hangs around your neck. So I can kind of see better, especially since I'm going to be using this in a garment. I kind of wanted it to be even, and looking at it, it is even. It is not, but that's okay. It'll still end up beautifully, I'm sure, and still be a lovely garment for me to wear. I had written down 2 weeks ago that my future knitting was always Amsterdam, and I have a vague recollection of seeing that and getting really excited about it. I don't even remember what it looks like. I'm going to be honest now. I have been I got on a kick last night because I was looking for something in my house that I could not find and still cannot find, and now I'm wondering if I gave it away. Let me deal with the cats. Remember I said she doesn't like a closed door. It doesn't matter what side she's on. She doesn't like a closed door. So I watched today. Anyway, so I couldn't find it. I'm just, and I got frustrated because I realized that my house is chaos. This is probably the most organized space in the house. It's my yarn stash. So I got to talking with some knitting friends about how chaotic my house was and how frustrating it was, and that I'm going to start myself on, I think it's a minimalist challenge, or maybe it's just something that I invented in my head. I don't know. And recently I've seen on Instagram some people doing a minimalist challenge where whatever day of the month it is, that's how many items they try to remove from their home. I'm not going to do that because on the 31st of the month I don't want to be trying to find 31 things to get rid of, because I'll just save up my receipts from the month and then throw them all away at one time, and that's not useful. So I'm going more with just one thing a day. We were talking too, though, one of my friends had discovered Felicia Lowe of Sweet Georgia Yarn does a Take Back Friday vlog, and she spoke in vlog number 2 from last year about being more mindful about what she chooses to craft. And it's just 15 minutes. I recommend you go watch it. It was an interesting way to think about your cue and what's in it, and it's just a different way of using it, and it was very thoughtful and I really enjoyed it. But now I'm even more energized about using what I have, using my stash. And you guys know, if you've been with me for any length of time, that I've been kind of on a trek to use my stash and to not bring in as much for a while. And it just rooted that notion of using my lovely stash. So hopefully outside of holidays when I may receive things, or festivals when I'm buying, you know, that one special skein of yarn as a souvenir, hopefully you guys won't see much more stash coming in the near future. And I know that there are a lot of independent dyers out there who are crying at that, but that's where I am in my knitting adventure. So and I specifically, you know, I'm really excited to be using my hand spun. I'm excited to be using things out of stash. I'm excited that my next planned sweater, I don't know how much I talked about it, my next planned sweater is going to be just a V-neck raglan top-down number, and the yarn is sitting right here. I've had this yarn balled up for a very long time. This is Arucania Pehuen, which is no longer made. Color number 11. Very delightfully named. So this is 100% cotton, and you see it's kind of a boucle style, sort of, but not really. Yes, but it's kind of bumpy, you know. Oh my. The rain is coming down now. It's not just the wind. Anyway, I've had this yarn in my stash for going on near 10 years. And I'm so excited about this knit that I've finally come to a place in my knitting where I'm comfortable, one, knitting a garment, two, and I think this, my knit along this year has kind of helped with that. Because I've been knitting so many more garments than I used to, my comfort level has increased with it. I'm so excited about knitting with this because it's really lovely. I've just never known what to do with it, and I feel like 10 years ago I was meant to buy this and hold on to it so it could inspire me for this long, and now I'm ready. It's gonna happen. But yeah, so just, but also knitting from the stash, all these garments, I am starting, I'm not quite out yet, but I am starting to get low on sweaters quantities of yarn. So I'm looking at my fiber stash and kind of thinking about maybe doing a combo spin. If you're not familiar with a combo spin, you bring several braids of fiber together that may dyed by different people at different times, you know, but kind of all coordinate or flow together. Or I'm a sucker for a purple. I have so much purple, so I think I'm going to bring my purples together, and then you divide them up into little ounce, half ounce little nests, and then throw them all in a big bag or basket, and then just randomly grab them and just spin them at random. And then when you apply it all together, you have, it reads as a cohesive, it looks like it was meant to be that way, right? So I'm kind of planning a combo spin for after I get done with all these sweaters quantities of yarn I have, or even before I do. But that's where I am. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope your crafting has been amazing, and I will see you next time.
I just can't wait to finish. I got the kitten knitting blues. No, I just can't wait to finish. That's why I got those kitten knitting blues.